In 1572, Michel de Montaigne sat down in his tower library and began writing. That same year, thousands of people were being massacred across France in what history would call the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. He knew. He could hear it. He opened a notebook and wrote about idleness. He wrote for 20 years through plague, civil war, religious massacre, and his own deteriorating health. He wrote about his cat, his kidney stones, his fear of death, the cannibals of Brazil, and what it feels like to fall off a horse. He called the work attempts. He never called it finished. This video moves in two halves. The first stays with Montaigne, who he was, what drove him to the tower, and what he kept doing there while his country fell apart around him. The second half is closer to home. It's about the waiting, the conditions that never arrive, the page that stays blank. He retired to his tower in 1571 at 38, after the death of his closest friend, Etienne de la Boétie. La Boétie died of plague at 32. Montaigne later wrote that the friendship was the defining fact of his life. Its loss left a space nothing else could fill. The Essais filled the space. The tower at the Château de Montaigne had 3 floors. The bottom was a chapel. The middle was his bedroom. The top was his library. 1,000 books arranged in a circle around him. The walls inscribed with quotes from Sextus Empiricus and Ecclesiastes. I know nothing. Nothing is certain. He wrote from that room for 20 years. He opened the Essays with a note to the reader. He wrote that the book was written for himself and his relatives, to preserve his form and nature after death. He added that if he had written it for the world, he would have dressed himself up more carefully. He didn't. The book was not for the world. He chose the word carefully. Essay, from the French essayer, to try, to test, to feel out. Every piece in the collection was a mind working through something without knowing where it would land. He followed the thought to see where it went. Whether it arrived anywhere was secondary to the fact that it moved. He wrote about his cat with the same register he brought to the fear of death. His kidney stones got the same attention as the nature of consciousness. Cannibalism, friendship, coaches, thumbs, idleness, lying. The subject never determined how seriously he looked at it. The looking was the point, whatever it landed on. The French Wars of Religion ran from 1562 to 1598. 36 years of Catholic and Protestant forces killing each other across France. Montaigne's region, the Périgord and Bordeaux, was directly in the path of both sides. He served as mayor of Bordeaux twice during the wars. He kept writing through all of it. Marcus Aurelius was doing the same thing 14 centuries earlier. He wrote the Meditations on the Danube frontier while commanding the Roman army through plague and war, for an audience of exactly one himself, with no intention of publication. The private record made in the middle of catastrophe. The book survived everything the catastrophe didn't. He spent 20 years adding to the Essays, layering new thoughts onto old ones rather than replacing them. The published editions show 3 distinct strata of writing. He disagreed with his earlier self, added the contradiction, and left both versions in the text. The mind changing was part of what the book was recording. Shakespeare read him. Traces of the essay appear throughout The Tempest and King Lear. Descartes read him and built a philosophy of doubt, partly in response. Nietzsche called him one of the few writers who made him feel genuinely at home. Pascal read him and was disturbed enough by his skepticism to write the Pensées as a counter-argument. He invented something that had no name before him, the examined private self as a legitimate subject for serious writing. Before Montaigne, you wrote about God, history, philosophy, rhetoric, or nature. Writing about your own digestion and calling it philosophy was either vanity or madness. He did it anyway, and the form has not stopped since. He died in 1592, still writing. The last edition of the essay was published posthumously, with his handwritten additions visible in the margins, additions that had not yet been incorporated into the main text. The book, he said, was written only for himself, kept growing past his death, past his hand, past his intention. He had a country at war, a body failing him, the deaths of everyone close to him, and genuine political responsibility as mayor of a city under siege. He had no guarantee anyone would read what he wrote. He started in 1572 and was still revising in 1592. Whatever the right conditions look like, he never had them. You are waiting for something to settle. The news cycle, the political situation, the personal circumstances, the right version of yourself to arrive. More prepared, more certain, more ready to begin. Montaigne began the Essays the year of the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. The settling never came. He wrote anyway. You open the feed in the morning, before anything else has happened. By midday, you have consumed more information about the state of the world than Montaigne received in a year. By evening, the page is still blank. Montaigne knew what was happening outside, the massacres, the sieges, the political collapses. He closed the door and wrote. You have something to say. You write the first sentence. Then you read it back through the eyes of someone who might find it insufficient, too personal, too obvious, too small. You revise it toward that imagined reader until the original thought has been processed out of existence. Montaigne wrote for himself. The thought survived. The dedication said the book was for himself. What he actually produced, writing for himself alone, was the first modern prose style, direct, digressive, honest, structurally free. Every essayist since owes that form to him. The most widely read private thought in European literature came from a man who explicitly said he was not writing for anyone. Every surface you write on today is a stage. The notes app, the draft email, the journal that syncs to the cloud. All of them carry the faint awareness of a potential audience. The writing adjusts. The honesty contracts. The thing that was almost true becomes the thing that can be shown. Montaigne had one reader. The writing expanded. The French Wars of Religion gave Montaigne material he never used directly. The war doesn't appear in the essays as subject matter. It appears as pressure, the condition under which the thinking happened. Every catastrophe outside the tower made the thinking inside it more urgent, more focused, more alive to what actually mattered. He wrote the opening essay of the Essay, on idleness, in 1572. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre killed between 5,000 and 30,000 people that August. Montaigne sat in his tower and wrote about what happens to a mind left without occupation. He chose the subject deliberately. He understood exactly what idleness cost. The person waiting for the right moment, the person consuming news instead of making anything, the person editing their thought into silence. Each one ends the day with an empty page. Montaigne ended his days with pages full. The gap between them has a name. He called it essayer, to attempt, to begin before you know where you're going. Essay attempts, asks for one thing, that you start before you know where you're going. Montaigne wrote about his cat without knowing what he would find. He found something about the nature of mutual incomprehension between species that philosophers still reference. The thought was not available before the writing. The writing produced the thought. He changed his mind across 20 years of writing and left both versions in the text. The early Montaigne and the late Montaigne disagree on multiple points, and both positions remain in the final edition. He understood that a mind that never contradicts itself has stopped moving. You have a thought right now that you have not written down. You've had it before. Each time it arrives, something interrupts. The feed, the revision toward an imagined reader, the sense that conditions aren't right. Montaigne had that thought too, in a tower, while a war killed his neighbors. He wrote it down. It survived 5 centuries. Every thought filtered through an imagined reader loses something in transit. The rough edge that made it true, the uncertainty that made it alive. Montaigne wrote for himself and lost nothing in the journey from mind to page. The Essays read, 5 centuries later, like a mind thinking in the room beside you. The privacy is why. The conditions you are waiting for Montaigne had, and wrote through. The war kept going. The uncertainty held. The certainty he would have needed to feel ready never arrived. He began anyway, in 1572, with a massacre outside the window. The blank page in front of you is the same blank page. The question is what you are doing with yours. He died in 1592, with additions still in the margins. The book he wrote for himself is read in universities across the world. The form he invented, thinking out loud on paper, for no one, toward no conclusion, is the most intimate literary form that exists. He started it the year of a massacre. He never stopped.
Thank you for watching. If this video brought you any value, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. For more content like this, hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.